Hello, everyone, and welcome to this video. Very excited to introduce you to someone that is very dear to Liveblocks. Maybe you could introduce yourself, Oscar. Who are you? What do you
Yes.
do?
So I'm Oscar. I'm CTO at Fermat. And in Fermat, we are a generative AI multiplayer canvas application. And we've been using Liveblocks for a while. And so now we're doing this fireside chat. So I can tell you more about Fermat.
Very cool. I have a few questions about format, but first, like we live in a remote world. Can you tell us where you're located in the world right now?
Okay, so I'm located in Barcelona. Most of our team is in Barcelona, in Spain. We do have some team members in London. But yeah, most of us are here in Barcelona right now.
I'm very jealous right now. The weather is not good in Montreal, Canada, so very jealous of you being in Barcelona. All
Yeah.
right, let's talk a little bit more about Fermat. I know you gave us like the very short summary of what is Fermat, but could you tell us more about your product you're building and who is it for? What does it do, and why is it awesome?
Yeah. So, well, from the early beginnings, so Fermat comes from the idea of building a programmable canvas. So we started up with building this, at the moment, single player canvas in which the user could place multimedia blocks and they could write their own behaviors on top of the blocks, something that you would expect, for example, in Excel, similar thing to Excel. And then at one point, we saw with the rise of generative AI, and I mean quite a long time before ChatGPT, we
Mhm.
found that interaction with AIs within the canvas was something that was very interesting and that was a very good use case for our programmable system. And so we started building towards that. And then naturally, we ended up seeing that we couldn't keep going on without the multiplayer system. And so we turned Fermat into the multiplayer system using Liveblocks. And this was kind of the whole evolution of Fermat. So from this very experimental, very researchy programmable canvas, then we found our first use case when joining it with AIs. Then we turned it into multiplayer. And then now in the past few months, AI has boomed completely. So we found ourselves in a position, in a very good position to keep going on.
Yeah, and like we hear a lot about AI. I don't know if people watch this video in 10 years and they're like, AI, that's a thing of the
Yeah.
past. But right now, that is crazy what's happening in AI. It's a very exciting field to be in. So like I love like there's the whiteboarding canvas part, the AI. Can you give us a few like use case that people would be
Yeah.
using Format for? Like what can they achieve in Format? Do you have a few examples?
Yeah. So I think in order to say the use cases, we need to understand like the pros and cons of whiteboards. So I think
Hmm.
one great use case for whiteboards, and I think that it's what most companies start with, is brainstorming and kind of divergent thinking. Whiteboards are very good for just mood boarding ideas and having tons of content in a canvas. And I think there's quite a few use cases that arise from this proposition. So, for example, brainstorming, content creation, concept art, different approaches to writing. But I think that one more difficult problem that not many companies have solved is convergent thinking. So actually getting from this huge mood board of ideas into something that is actually actionable. And there are some other use cases that I think arise from here, which are, for example, filmmaking. We do have some filmmaking tools in Fermat that you can use to do the divergent thinking part, so coming up with ideas, but then converge into an actual movie script, for example. And we do have the
Hmm.
same with concept art and a few more other things. And the cool thing about Fermat is that since it's programmable, and that it can integrate with anything that has an API, basically. It's very extensible to every person's use case, and that's where we're kind of seeing an avenue of discovery of use cases.
Yeah, I'll like if people go on your Twitter, we can see a lot of examples of like how Fermat can be used, and I agree it's awesome for collaboration. Everyone can brainstorm ideas and converge to something that's great. In a past conversation that we had, the two of us, you mentioned something that I found very cool. You called them like design partnerships or like
Yeah.
companies' brain, like transfer to Fermat.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about that? How you use it, and just tell us
Yeah.
about that.
So we basically we've been finding that we have this in Fermat. There's this toolbox that we call full of pre-made behaviors that people can download into their canvases and work with. But what we found, not only in Fermat but in the field of generative AI in general, is that sometimes generic AI is not good enough for many large companies. So what we are offering now as part of our enterprise package is for companies to give us access to data sets that they own, and then we create their brains for them. So basically, we fine tune AIs for them, and we embed them into Fermat. So for these companies, Fermat comes packaged with specialized tools for them and specialized AIs for them that they can build on top of. So what we've done is we are partnering with a couple dozen large companies. We'll be doing that along the next few months or maybe a year, and we'll be partnering with these companies in order to learn more about their needs, for them to learn about our product, and for us to learn about our own product. Because one of the surprising things about Fermat is that since it's so extensible due to its programmability, and it's something that has historically been very present in such extensible systems. It's that thing of even the developers don't know what's possible, what are the limits of the application, and it's something that we're also finding out with these design partnerships, because we're getting actual power users on the application and not just people who want to play around a bit.
Okay, so like if I take a silly example, a company that is specialized in I don't know, designing bedrooms, probably that
Yeah,
exists.
that's
Like they could.
actually we actually do have a partnership with an interior design firm. So yeah, they've given us. We're building two main integrations with them. First one is a few fine-tuned models on interior design, and another one is a system so that they can capture references from the real world and import them very easily into Fermat, like in a frictionless way. Because what we found, for example, is that these companies and also some fashion companies that we're partnering with, they are used, even in the digital age, they do a lot of work on paper. And I think it's one bridge that we still haven't crossed in terms of computing is the actual physical bridge. And so we found that also offering a way to capture the images and capture the content, bring it into Fermat, collaborate on the content, and then having a way to communicate the content from within Fermat to the stakeholders, for example, we found that it's something that sticks very well with these kind of companies.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Like I think we have a good picture of Fermat now, and I'm happy about that. Thank you for sharing. I know you mentioned like how collaboration, and you already mentioned multiplayer collaboration and that, but could you tell us more what part of your product is multiplayer and what can we achieve
Yeah,
collaboratively in your product?
sure. So I think you can't tell the story about multiplayer in Fermat without understanding, well, what I explained before of how Fermat was built. We have to remember that Fermat started as a very researchy thing. So multiplayer wasn't built into it from the beginning. It wasn't planned for it, actually. So when we decided to transition to multiplayer, it was obviously a huge project. We're a startup. We don't have unlimited resources, and we don't have unlimited time, obviously. So, what we many decisions that we've taken throughout making our product multiplayer have been made in order to integrate correctly with what we already had before, to allow for backwards compatibility, and to be able to move quickly. And I think Liveblocks played a very important role in this regard. And so for this specific part of the product that is multiplayer, it's the canvas. So it's the whole spatial canvas. The elements that are not multiplayer are actually the document space for each user. So I would say like the metadata part is not multiplayer. Mm-hmm. This, we're still running the old version. But once the user connects to a document, this document is multiplayer with any other user that is connected to it. So basically, Liveblocks is powering our document model.
Okay, I see. Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. We call them rooms in our terminology, but that's really like what it's meant for. Yeah. And well, like, can you tell us about your experience integrating Liveblocks? How was your experience?
Yeah. It was actually very, very strange in a very positive way, in that we were very surprised. No, I say it very positively. We were surprised because our approach was, first we did quite a big refactor of the document, of the room model in our side of things. So we basically built a whole integration, so a whole reactive system. We don't use React. We don't use any UI frameworks. So we built a reactive system around the concept of this system being able to be connected to a multiplayer system. So it's basically a multiplayer first reactive framework. And so this is actually the part that took longer to build. Once we had that, we were very positively surprised by Liveblocks in terms of, once we had the multiplayer framework, integrating Liveblocks was kind of a week's work. We obviously spent more time later just polishing, improving things, getting everything to work perfectly. So I'm not gonna say it was a 1 week thing, but getting things to work on one screen and the other, and getting like 80% of the app going multiplayer was actually a week's work, which was amazing. And then since then, we have spent a few months polishing other things, improving other things, making more features, actually collaborating quite closely with Liveblocks on building some new features, on solving a few bugs, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's been a positive experience in terms of the speed, which was actually one of the biggest things for us.
Wow. And I want to emphasize on this because you said it, but I want to make sure, because people love Liveblocks, so it's easy to use. So I'm not gonna lie, not the first time I hear that. But usually people, they use React, and we're so well integrated with React that everyone using React loves Liveblocks. But here, you're not using React, you're using like JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript. And I love hearing that. From what I hear, it was easy to integrate. So are you like, should people using JavaScript vanilla use Liveblocks? Do you recommend that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not going to lie. Liveblocks does offer very good support for React. As far as I understand, I haven't tried it with React. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you do offer some specific like pre-built components or tutorials for React. So yes. if you go vanilla, you basically have to build some things that, well, you have to build lots of things yourselves. But I don't think we've run into any blocker that has been Liveblocks related. We have run into blockers because building vanilla stuff is hard, but I don't think the blocker has ever been Liveblocks specifically.
Yeah. And thank you for that. We do have a
Yeah.
few tutorials for JavaScript and examples, but
Oh.
yeah, our React gallery is much bigger. But I'm happy it's Fermat will be used as an example of how we can
Yeah.
use Liveblocks with vanilla JavaScript. And in terms of experience interacting with the Liveblocks team, so you mentioned that we have a lot of support for React, but can you tell us about how it was for you to work with the Liveblocks team?
Yeah, so I think we got in touch with the Liveblocks team, like personally in touch, for the first time quite early on in our development because we probably ran into something that we wanted to ask. So we
Mhm.
started talking to Stephen and Guillaume, and then later on I've met you, Adrian, and Olivier, and everyone has been very attentive, very direct. I know you. Well, I'm guessing same as us. You people have very tight schedules, so we've been very happy with the response times we've been getting. We're collaborating on, I think, a couple or three features right now. Things that we basically needed to be implemented for Fermat, but we needed them from the Liveblog side. So we're collaborating on working out the APIs and working out the specifics. We've also, well, we're working on moving towards the new pricing tiers for Liveblocks and building towards Liveblocks 1.0 because Fermat right now isn't running on Liveblocks 1.0 yet.
Mhm.
But I think we've also collaborated very well on that, and it's something that we'll be doing during the next few weeks. And yes, so generally it's been a very personalized experience. Like it doesn't feel like interacting with a huge CRM corporation. It's basically just you ask a question, you get an answer, and then we go on from there. And as I said before, we have had I wouldn't say issues, but we've run into blockers either on our side or live blogs or whatever. But we've always been able to work them out within a week's time, couple weeks time. So we there's nothing critical in our application right now that is being blocked by live blogs, which is exactly what you expect from a product like this.
And I have to say, like we love having customers like you because you really help us grow. Like I see we have a support channel in our Slack, and when I see like Format like raising issues, like everyone's very attentive to it because we know it's great points and it helps us build a stronger product. So thank you for doing that. Please continue, and I'm happy to hear that
Yeah.
it's going well for now. Awesome hearing that. We could wrap up maybe. Could you tell us more about the future of Fermat? What is your vision for Fermat, and how could people learn about Fermat? Where should they go? So, what's your vision for Fermat? Make us dream, and then how could we hear about Fermat in the future?
Yes. So, well, if you want to look for Fermat, you can Google Fermat AI. Just Google it, Fermat AI, and it'll be the first result. Or the URL is fermat.ws. You can also check us out there. I'm guessing the Liveblocks team will put a link somewhere. Uh, so the long-term vision for Fermat is basically, well, it's rooted on how it all started. Basically, we are great believers that the computer realm should move into the physical realm. Actually, the first experiment that we did as a company wasn't Fermat as you know it now. It was, well, it wasn't called Fermat then, but it was a table in which things were projected, kind of dynamic land kind of thing for the people who know. And through AI, we could recognize what was on the table, and we allowed people to collaborate together and with AI on physical environments. We found that this was hard to, especially for such a small startup and such an early stage team. it was hard to build a product around it and commercialize. So we decided to move to the to the digital realm and build what we had on the table, build it into a software as a service, basically. And that's how Fermat was born. But I think in the mid to long term future, our idea is to move back into the physical realm, because I think that we have a lot of expertise on these terms. We've never stopped experimenting in this sense. And we also think that with the rise of generative AI, it's actually now is a good moment to build a product for this. Well, now or in the next couple of years, maybe. So our long-term vision with Fermat is basically to have the web version, but then end up building a physical version in which people can collaborate in the physical world together and with agents, well, with generative agents. And so basically, to sum up, I'd say the motto of Fermat is to allow the creative professional to capture ideas, to collaborate with other humans and AIs, and to communicate these ideas to the stakeholders. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Bringing back the physical world is what we need, and I think having a bridge between the two worlds is what we need and what should happen. That's awesome. I really hope Fermat will keep inspiring us in the future. Good luck with that. Thank you for your time, Oscar. That was a great conversation. Have a great day, and for everyone watching us, have a great day too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Adrien.